Hi everyone, so in this lesson we are going to be talking about create, update and delete. So this is a very important lesson. These are one of the coolest things that you can learn from Django. So in this case we are going to be using the model form. The model form, it has very cool functionalities, and the way I see it is the easiest method of create or of doing the create, update and delete. So I've prepared some of the content that I'm going to present to you. So we're going to start with create. So we're going to create models from the database, right, through our template. So we are going to discuss about the CRUD. So we are going to be using Django model forms. So this is model forms which we are going to inherit from, right? So we will also have to create .html template. So in this template, this is where we are going to be able to update or create, right? So for update and create, we are going to be using this template. It will show like what do you want to update, or what is it that you want to create, right? So this HTML will be linked to the create view and URL and create URL, right? So you know that you already know that a view goes with the URL. So when a user requests in the browser the URL connected to that request, it will go get which view, and then the view has the template, right? The MVT concept that we spoke about in the beginning of the series, right? So which we will have to code before the create.html template. The create button in the home page will lead us to this create.html, right? So this is how we're gonna do it. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna create a form, right, separately, so that we will later import it into our view, right? So we will go here, and then what we're gonna say, new Python, and then we're gonna name it within our project. So we're gonna put it within our app manager, right? So we're gonna go get the form from Django.forms. We are going to import the model form, and also we will need the model, since we are going to update the order from the database, right? So we also gonna need to go get this model, sorry. So we're gonna name our model. I'm gonna name it order model. So most people, like when they name their own models, they also do this, like it starts with the capital letter, and like the linking weights, you combine them, and then you combine them, and then each word combined, it starts with the capital letter, and I also think it's a cool way of doing it. You will understand, like when you get used to coding, you will understand, like it helps you to be organized while you're coding. So this is how we use this model. We're gonna inherit from model form, and then we need to mention which model are we going to use in our database. We're gonna use this model. We also need to identify which fields in that model we're gonna use. In this case, if there are other fields that we would not consider, what we will do, we will like create a list. But in this case here, we would like create a list, and a list of strings, right? And then you will say the name, the date, etc. But in this case, if you are going to use everything that's in that model, you're gonna say all, right? So then the next thing we are going to do, we will go to the view, and then we will import redirect, and then we will import that form we just created. So we're gonna say from forms import model, no, order, what did I say? How did I? Order model. Actually, I should have said it's order form. And then I'll come here and do the same thing, like order form, right? This is the proper way of naming it, but then you could name it anything you want. It's up to you. And then we're gonna say we're gonna create our view. So we're gonna create our view. We're gonna call it create, right? Create, let's name it create order. So how let me check first. Yes, so we created a form, and then we create our view. We're gonna use that form. So we're only gonna get the request from the user, and then we will also have to have context, right? I'm just gonna copy, just to save time, Let me just do that and just delete here, and then I'll have to return, and then we will have to name. I'll say, like, let me just say order form, right? So we're gonna use the form that we used from order form, right? So we're gonna say equals to order form, the one we created in this one. So, and then what we're gonna do, since in our template we will have to create a form, right? So that form is going to, we will have certain fields, right? So this, let me just show you what I'm trying to explain. Let me just pass this into the template already, and then later I will add other elements, So I will call this other form, and then I'll have to create a template which is called create, not HTML. And then I'll go here to templates manager, I'll just call it create.html. So we will have to inherit inherit the navigation bar, right? So what we will have to do, I'll just go to, let me just come here, copy, let me just undo, and then I'll copy here, then I'll paste it here. And then I'll say it's block content. So the reason I pasted this code here is because I want to keep the navigation bar, right? And also the design. If you like, you have the design, you want to maintain the design, that's what you are supposed to do. And then you will say block content, and then you will paste, and then we will say end block. So we're gonna create a form here. Then when you create a form, you need to mention the method, which is very important. So it's gonna be post, since we'll have to put data into our database, right? So it's post, and then we will, if we are like using a method, you would have to put this CSRF token, to securely, transfer your data. And then another thing that you will have to do right now, I wanted to show you like how does this form, the model form does, it's gonna like show the fields, all the fields that we chose, they're gonna appear. But then we will have to write additional code in order for us to make it work, right? To make it create and save the data into the database, right? For now, the remaining thing that we need to do is, let me check, problem. I think we might have a problem. I think I had to put a dot there. Let me see. Yes, make sure that you put a dot if it's within that folder, right? Because views and forms, they are in the same folder. So if you import a model within the same folder, you have to put that dot, the full stop there. And then now we have to do the URL. We'll have to come here. Let me just copy this. So remember, we are doing the URL for create. So we'll come here and name this create, and then we'll also name create, right? So this is what appears on the browser, and this one is the name that we link within our code, right? This is for us when we are coding, and then this is what the user see, right? So we're gonna say create, and then we'll have to import that view so that we link that view. It's create order, so we're gonna put create order right there. So let me run the server and see what's gonna happen. So create, I'll have to link it here, right, as you can see. So let's go to dashboard, and then we'll come here. Let me just undo. So we'll have URL, and then we'll have to create to link it to this, right? So we're just gonna say create, and then it's gonna redirect there, and you click on it. Let me check what's the problem now. Let me refresh. Let me click. Yes. So this is what that order form that we created. You see now it shows those fields that we selected. So how do we actually create and save the data into the database? So I'm gonna show you. Since the method is post, right, because here in our form we said the method is post, right? So we're gonna say if request dot method is equals to post, what we're gonna do, we're gonna say, we're gonna just copy this. If the method is post, and then the user, right, inputs that data, we're gonna store it here, right, dot post, actually request dot post, and then that data, if I'm gonna put another condition here, if order form, let me check, okay, if order form dot is valid, and then we're gonna say order form dot save, and then what we're gonna do after we save data into the database, we return, you remember that redirect, that I imported this one. Make sure that you import it so that you'll be able to return to home. So you're gonna say redirect, and then it's gonna, after the user, they have saved the data, they're gonna redirect back home. So let me go back to home. As you can see, we have 5 orders. Let me create another order. Let me just click here, pending. Oh, sorry, like the problem, I can click any data here, but the thing is, how am I going to be able like to submit, right? Because now I've entered, but we need to create some sort of a button, right, to submit our data. So we're gonna say input, and then we're gonna say the type is gonna be submit, and then the name, you can name it, I think you can name it whatever you want to. So this is gonna be the name, and then what's gonna happen is that we'll have, let me refresh. As you can see, we have this button here. Let me see if it works. I'm gonna say Leroy, I'm gonna say cheesecake. Let me see if we have a, as you can see, it worked. We now have 6 orders, right? So we are done with create. That's how you do create, right? This is how you do it. First we have to create that form, and then we'll have to, this order form, we have to create this order, this class, this model, right? This is a model, and then this model we will have to inherit from the model form, right? And then how it works, so we're gonna take the request, the posted request from the user, and then we're gonna store that we're gonna update our variable. Initially it's empty, but then after the request is made by the user, it's within that variable, and then the variable is checked if it's, whether it's valid or not, whether the data entered is correct or not. So if it's correct, then we go ahead and save it into the database, and then we redirect back home. So yes, that's how it works. So the next thing we're gonna do now, we're gonna do update, right? It's quite similar to create, but there are only few differences, right? So we'll go here. Obviously gonna need context, both of them actually. Let me just copy these so that I don't have to write them. So here we don't have to create a template because we're gonna use the create, right? So let me check. So what are we going to need? We're gonna need to pass in the primary key, because we will have to go to the individual. We'll have to go to the individual orders, right? So we would say order equals order dot object dot get, and then we would have ID is equals to, what I've done. So we have, let me see, okay, so I'll name this variable order, and then I'll say order dot objects dot get, and then I'll say ID equals PK, right? And then what's next? We also have to put in the order form, right? We're gonna use the model form, so it's gonna be equal to order form, and then yes, and then here we're gonna pass in that form again. So it's gonna do the same thing, it's gonna show the fields, right? So I will and then let's go to the URLs. I'll just copy this path, and then I'll paste it below the other path, and I'll just update, put update there. I have to import update so that I'll be able to put it here. So we have update, and then the name of this URL, we will call it update, right? And then what's next? Remember we passed it, we have passed in the primary key or the ID, so we'll have to put it there. And then let me check if it's gonna work, or I have to create a link for update, right? So we'll go to dashboard, and then we'll go to here, right? And then we will say, we'll put a, and then we'll have a link here, which is href, and then this link, we'll do it like that. And then we have what we call, so this link is gonna go to the URL name, which is called update, and then we'll say i.id, because we'll also have to pass in the ID since we are going to that specific object, right? So let's go and refresh, and then let's check what's the meta or N4. Let me check, maybe I did a mistake somewhere. Oh, I need to put a name there. Let me see if it's gonna work. Click, and then what's the meta? Oh, I need to put in URL there. So let me refresh. Yes, now it's working. When I click, you see, but then the problem, it has to show, like if I go to pending to this order, I need to see cheesecake, I see the date and time, you know, whether it's delivered or not, but then now I see the empty things there. So how do I show? You will have to say instance is equals to order. So we're using this variable, right? Because it's we are going to that specific order. And then the instance, when we click on it, you know, it will show. Let me see. You see? Now it shows whether it's delivered or not, right? So if I go here, like to coffee cups, you will see Tony Maker, coffee cups, you know. So we are able to see what are we updating. So the next thing we are going to do now is to actually update. So how do we do that? What we are going to do now, we're gonna say we're gonna, it's the same process. You remember the create, you know. You can just copy this right here, then let me just go down, paste this here. So we have if requested method is post, we have order form. The only difference is that we have to put this thing here, paste, comma, right? So what's the problem here? If requested method is post, now I think it's gonna work. And then we have if order form dot is valid, we're gonna save it. It's the same, it's basically the same thing. And then here we're gonna, yeah, they're both using the same template. So right here I think it's gonna be, or is it just instance? No, it can't be instance. It's supposed to be instance order, comma, request. I think it's because I copied it, that's why it's doing that. But then let's see what happens. Let me go to the controller and see. Okay, so let me check what's the matter. Let me just, or should I? Okay, I think I need to start with the request first. So request dot post, comma, and then we're gonna say instance is equals to, and then I'll put order here. As you can see, like I made a mistake. I put what I did before, I put instance before I put request, you know. So let's see if it works. I'm gonna refresh, and then let me see if we have like pending or delivered. It's 3. Let me change this one to delivered and see if the number is gonna increase. So let me see. It's not increasing, but then as you can see, like the status has changed. Let me come here and see if I say out of delivery. You see, out of delivery, it's updated. So as you can see, this thing is really working. Let me refresh and see if it's saving. But then we might be having a problem, but then I think everything is fine as long as it's updating here, right? So that's how you do the create, right? Let me close the browser and try to run the server again and see what happens actually. And then let's run the server. If I go there and then I check, you see the data is not changed, it still remain the same, right? So as you can see, it's out of delivery. We can also update and say it's pending, and then just submit. You see it's pending. So it really works. So what we're gonna do now is delete, right? So for delete, we will have to create. So let me go to my slide for update. Like it's stated here, that here we also use the same template, the create.html template, right? The same template where we the template that we used to create an order. So the view function is similar to the one of the create view, right? One of the differences is that we will have to pass in the ID of the function, because we will have to go to the individual orders, right? So we'll pass in this one, and also you will see for delete we'll have to do the same thing. So we can start with delete. We'll say def delete, and then it's request. So we're gonna pass in the key, right? So we'll have to let me pass in this first. In this case, we don't have to use this form, right? And then we'll let me just copy the return function, copy, and then we paste the return function. So we'll have to create this template, right? So I'm gonna name this template delete, right? So we'll also inherit from the main, to keep the navigation bar, right? So I'll come here to delete, then I'll paste it here, and then we will have the content, block content. So here is going to be block content, and then I'm gonna copy this here, and then I'm gonna end block, right? So it's gonna be end block, and then within content I'll have to pass in this form, and then I'm gonna ask the user, like, paragraph, and I'm gonna say, are you sure you want to delete? Anyway, I'll and then I'll pass in the item there. So we know that the form has the it has the method, right? So the method is post, right? Actually, let me just write it in capital letters, but make sure that even also in your view function it's written in capital letters. And then we're gonna do the action. In this case we'll have to put it, and then we're gonna say we're gonna put some URL here. So I'm gonna come back. For now, let's just put a hash. So this is the template we're gonna render over this view, and then we're gonna pass in the ID. What does that mean? That means we're gonna say order is equals to, yes, it's order dot objects dot get pk is equals to ID. No, actually it's the other way around. pk ID is equals to pk, right? And then we're gonna pass in order right there. Into our context, which is order. So here we're gonna ask, are you sure you want to delete? And then we're gonna put in the variable there. We're gonna just say order, right? And then we're gonna go, so I haven't created the URL, so I have to create the delete the URL for this view. Right, let me just copy this, paste, and then I'll just write here delete, and then I'll have to import delete the view function, then we'll have to put it in there, and then we will have to name the URL delete. So this is how we did it. So let me see, we go to dashboard, and then after we go to dashboard, we'll go to delete. So here, let me just copy this URL here, copy, then let me paste it here, and then in this case the name of the URL that we are going to get the template is called delete, right? So let's see if it's gonna reload. Okay, it's reloading. Then let me click. You see, it's working. So the only thing we need to do now is it cake. Let me see. So let me see the other one. Cups, coffee cups. Okay, yeah, it's actually working. So just space there. Let me put, remember that every time you are putting a form, you have to put the CSRF token tag, right? So CSRF to securely put in data, right? Token. So it's gonna ask, and then you will have to cancel. All right, it's either you're gonna cancel, so I'm gonna create a link here, and then it's gonna be cancel. Then you have HIRF. So when you cancel, it's gonna take you back to the home page, not literally home. So you have URL, and then here you will have I think we called it home. Let me see. As you can see right here, so you're gonna go back to that URL if you cancel. Otherwise, if not, you will have to submit, and then we're gonna mention the type of button. It's gonna be the submit button. You're gonna give it a name. You can give it any name you want. So this is gonna be confirm, and then action. So for action, we're gonna say that, let me just copy these. I'm lazy to just type those tags. It's kind of annoying when you keep repeating one thing. So here, what we are going to do here, we're gonna go back. We are going to delete. That's the action, right? This is where, and then here we're gonna pass in the order ID. So we're gonna say order. Hopefully it's gonna work. Let me check. If I refresh, yes, it actually works. Let me cancel. It goes back home. As you can see, let me try to delete cheesecake. If I submit, okay, so I'll have to go to view, So the method, right, if method dot request, then the method of the request is post. If the user uses this method, it's either you post or you get. But then in this case it's okay. Actually, you know, like I have this habit of like writing things, you know, vice versa, like I swap them. So if the method is that, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go to order dot delete, and then return so this is for the form. Actually this code, you know, is for the form, you know, and then we'll return home. Let me see if it works. Hopefully it does. You see, it worked. I think it worked. Let me just delete this one, submit. Yes, it's working, it's working. So that's how you do them. You see, total orders is 4 now, and then we can create one order. Now we can create and just say delivered, customer Leroy, product coffee cups. We submit. You see now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 orders now. You see the number is increasing down there. So this is how you do the create, update and delete, right? So yeah guys, like I really enjoyed this session, to be honest. You know, this was like a really nice, a smooth one, right? So, and this is very important, you know, this is very important, like when you will have to like manipulate, you will have to add data, and you will enable your users. You will see, like as we progress with the tutorials, you know, there will come some point where the users, they will have to make orders, they will have to edit, you know, their profiles, you know, things like that. So this is wonderful. But anyway guys, see you on the next one.